Gentlemen, welcome back to the Tiege Hanley Starting a Business, Building a Brand vlog. This one, big number 276. And just to get it out there, my credit score is not 472. It was when I filed bankruptcy and that whole situation happened, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But today I want to talk about credit score. Because there was a question on actually, let me read it. The question is from our friend Shohan M. He says, does having a good or bad credit score have any effect on trying to start a business or grow a business or anything business related? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Now, today I want to talk about credit scores. And the reason is because A, this was an incredible question. And B, it's something that each one of us has and you need to be aware of it. Because the truth is, as you start to grow a business or you try to start a business, people, banks, people with like access to cash that you potentially want, even, things like your vendors. If you want to go have terms of hey, I'm going to have net 30, net 60, 90, they're going to want to see that you have the ability or that you have the history of repayment. And really it boils down to that's what credit score is. Credit score is your indication that you are credit worthy. That if somebody lends you money, whether or not it's $5 or $500,000, the chance of you actually repaying that money is high if you got a high credit score. Now, if you got a low credit score like 472, this tells people, yo, don't lend this dude any money because chances are he's not going to actually pay you back. So I want to tell you and talk a little bit about credit. I also want to show you my credit score now, right? Because like I said, I actually looked today. I have the company Lifelock, right? I hired Lifelock. For those of you who are worried about your credit score and worried about your identity, Lifelock is an incredible tool. And this isn't a sponsored video or post or anything like that, but I use Lifelock. I've used Lifelock for many years. When I found out that somebody opened a cell phone in my name that wasn't me, they had all my information. Anyway, I have been monitoring my credit score through Lifelock. They offer one credit score a month. And just so you know, I used to be 472. Right now, this morning, can you let me, boom, 823. What? Exactly. People lend me a ton of money now because I have history of repayment. But literally back in 2006, when I had to file bankruptcy, my score was 472. And nobody was lending me shit back then. So anyway, my financial and credit score history goes like this. All right, as you've probably heard by a lot of people, everybody from Grant Stephan to Alpha, because I'm going to tell you, in order for you to ever get somebody to loan you money, you need a credit score. Not having debt, a lot of people are like, yo, having no credit cards, I don't have a credit card. This is good, right? Well, it's good because you're not overspending, but it's bad in terms of it's critical that you build up your credit worthiness and show people that, hey, you are, if they lend you money, you are able to or willing to pay them back. And so when I was, I guess it was 18, I went away to college and there was Discover Card. They are preying on students dumb like me that are like, hey, we'll give you a credit card, $300. And at this point, I really had no idea what a credit card was or how it worked or how interest worked or the fact that 18% interest was not exactly ideal. Anyway, so I'm 18 years old. I was broke as hell. I was literally living on, I think it was $25 a week. When I went away to college, I worked all summer to save up, a few $100s. Maybe it was $800 or I think it was $800. Went away to school my freshman year and I had budgeted, $25 a week basically for the entire year. That's what I had to live on. And so, I had my meals paid for because I had the meal plan, but $25 is what I had to go out to eat with my friends and to get drunk, basically. And that's not a lot of money. And so when I was walking by, I remember it was right outside the business and economic building. There's a dude with a credit card stand said, hey, come over. You want a credit card? And I was like, what's a credit card? He's like, hey, we'll give you up to, $500 and you can pay it back later. And I was like, great. Sounds awesome. I didn't tell my mom or anybody really. I signed up, boom, 2 weeks later, my credit card comes in the mail. I was like, this is awesome. I had $500 freaking dollars that I don't need to pay back now. Amazing. And so what did I do? Of course, what any reasonably smart person does that has access to $500 that they don't have to pay back right now, I spent it. I was making it rain. I was going out. I was killing it, right? And I spent all of the $500. And then I got a bill in the mail. I'm like, yeah, I don't have the money to pay that. I'm just not going to pay it. And then next month, another bill came. Whatever. I'll deal with that later. Right now, I'm trying to get senoritas to, go on dates with me and stuff. I started paying it back because my mom got a call, basically. I put off payment of that card. I spent literally I think it might have even been $300. I spent it all. And I wasn't paying it back because I didn't have extra money. I was on a fixed budget of $25 a week. My mom got a call because you've got to put down when you do your credit app, who is somebody we can call in case of some situation, right? So I put my mom down. She calls me. She goes, wait a second. A, I didn't know you had a credit card. And B, what the hell are you spending this money for? We don't have it. And once again, my mom, at this point when I went away to college, my mom didn't have extra money to just be here you go, pay it off, whatever. Anyway, long story short, I ended up eventually paying off that $300 or $500 credit card at 18% interest. It took me years to pay it off. By the time I paid that thing off, I probably spent $10,000 to $12,000 to pay off that $300 or $500. The other problem is that when you make delinquent payments, that actually dings your credit score, right? Well, guess what I did? Of course, I graduated. I'm like, okay, that's getting paid down. Then I opened a Structure. Do you guys remember, who are a little bit older, there was a store called Structure. And it was really badass clothes, back in the day, 94, 95, 96, 97. Structure had cool stuff. And I think it turned into Express years ago. Anyway, I go into Structure one day. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go shop for clothes. What am I going to do? Right? I'm wanting to look good. So I get a sweater. I bring it up. And the person's like, hey, would you like a Structure credit card? I'm like, Structure credit card? Wait, there are credit cards at stores? You mean I don't have to pay this back right now? Yeah. So guess what I did? I got one. Guess what I did? Exactly. I got into deeper debt and I didn't pay that back either. I don't know why I'm telling you all this stuff. Thinking back on it, I'm like, oh my God, what an idiot I was. And so, Structure credit card, Discover credit card, and then my dumb ass goes to Rooms to Go, and guess what? Exactly, 3 years, 0 interest. And guess what? I didn't pay that shit off for 3 years, and by the time it came due, it was furniture that I had given to my ex-girlfriend because I wanted her to get out of my house. 3 years, same as cash, 0% interest, meaning if you pay it off in 3 years, it's the same as cash. But if you don't pay it off in 3 years, this guy, things are going to happen, and you're going to owe interest. And so I ended up going to Rooms to Go. I bought furniture for my girlfriend that was soon to be ex-girlfriend. And the reason why she was my soon to be ex-girlfriend, because I was trying to get her out of my house. She had a bedroom at her mom's house, but she didn't have any furniture. I'm like, hey, this is just temporary, right? I needed to get her ass out of my house. And so I went to Rooms to Go. We picked out furniture. I bought it in my name, and I ended up giving it to her, right? And so 3 years passed. I'd broken up with her a while ago. All of a sudden, one day, I get a call from my ex-girlfriend saying, yo, what are you doing? I'm getting calls from Rooms to Go because I didn't pay that either. To say I've made some bad financial decisions growing up would be an understatement. These are 3 that I just wanted to highlight. Then when I started my fitness center, it was with this woman, Linda, as you guys have all heard about, and she had great credit, right? My credit was crap, but she was the co-signer on most of or she was the signer or guarantor on the lease and some other stuff. And then over the course of the next 3 years, I started to build my credit back up, right? I was starting to pay things off. Things were doing okay. And then I opened my group fitness facility that we ended up having to end up bankrupting. And at that point, I was taking money off of my credit card to pay my staff. At the point at which I bankrupted, I believe it was close to $500,000 when everything was shut down. My credit cards were all maxed. I had no more credit. And I know that my credit score was literally 472. It was like nothing. Nobody would ever think about lending money to me. And I know because when things were really that bad, I actually tried to apply for another credit card to just have access to cash when I was working at the golf course, driving that beer cart, and nobody would give it to me. Meaning, you didn't pay it back to any of these other fools, we're not gonna be another fool that you don't pay back. So I ended up filing bankruptcy, and by that point I paid off, that Discover card was already paid off. My Structure credit card was paid off, and I think my girlfriend at the time, or my ex-girlfriend, ended up paying off the Rooms to Go card because it was her furniture, it was in my name. Anyway, at that point though, I was taking a lot of money off of my credit cards to pay my staff because we were out of money, we were broke, and I was just trying to feed the beast and keep it going as long as I possibly could. You know, when we decided to shut things down because it was over and we were having all sorts of legal issues with my business partner Linda and this other dude, one of our investors, it was the only option. Filed bankruptcy, and it was like a huge 10,000 pound weight was lifted off my shoulder. Now, the downside is that my credit was horrible. It was literally like 472 or something dreadful. And as soon as it cleared, my bankruptcy was over and discharged, I got literally a credit card offer the next day in the mail. And then I got another one in the mail, and then another one in the mail, because the credit card companies know that, okay, this dude has really crappy credit, but he can't file bankruptcy like for another 7 years, so we're gonna risk it. And so my first credit card after bankruptcy, I think the limit was $700. I think they were like, you're $700. And I knew, okay, this is my opportunity. I get to start rebuilding from ground zero, essentially. What I did was I used the credit that they were giving me, and I bought things that I could afford, and then I paid it off. I used the credit card to buy things as long as I had the money and paid it off immediately. And that is how I slowly and systematically started to build my credit back up. And 18 years later, what? 823? Are you kidding me? That's huge. That's an amazing credit score. Not as good as my wife's. My wife has had a lot of debt over the years, but she has never once missed a payment. And her credit score literally is better than mine, even though I pay all the bills and all that good stuff. So anyway, all of that sort of story to say that it is critical as an entrepreneur to worry about your credit score and to make sure that you keep it as high as possible. And if it's low, it's critical that you start rebuilding it. And it's all about the ability to borrow money and not have to pay cash for things. Getting your credit score up and as high as possible is the one way that you are going to be able to borrow money. A few weeks ago, we had a comment or a business question from one of our friends who was like, yo, I want to do an Amazon business. I got this contract. I need 3 box trucks. I need to go to a bank and get a loan for a box truck. And I said, your bank's never going to give you a loan for these 3 box trucks, but you could go and try and get a loan from either the dealership or borrow from somebody else. But if he had a great credit score, that is going to increase the likelihood that somebody is actually going to be able or willing to give you the money. Because credit score, like I said, it is all about your ability to repay the loan if somebody gives it to you. It's also going to help you get lower interest rates. If you've got a low credit score, sometimes people will be like, yo, no problem. You want to borrow $100,000? Here you go. But the interest rate is 12%, 8%, 18% or whatever. But when you have a high credit score, then you've got options, because people with money, that they want to lend it. They want to give it to you if you're going to repay it, because they know that that's the way that they can use their capital in order to make passive income or interest. And so if your credit score is high, you've got more options. You can shop around for better rates. You can shop around depending on, what you're looking for the best deal. Because these companies, if you've got a high credit score, they are more than willing and happy to give you access to credit. And the access to credit plays into your ability to scale and grow your business. If you don't have access, because here's the problem, right? You watch Shark Tank all the time. And one of the reasons why people go to Shark Tank is because they're out of money and they've got an opportunity, right? Like, ooh, I could go into Target, but I can't get in because I don't have the inventory. I need access to cash in order to buy the inventory, to then put it in Target, get paid back. So then it's a cash flow issue. When you're in business, cash flow is always something that you've got to pay attention to. And your ability to actually have cash or have access to cash through credit is one of the ways that you're going to be able to scale your business. If not, you've got to rely on getting the inventory that you can afford, selling through it, saving a little bit here before you actually can place a larger order to get inventory again. And so cash flow and access to cash is critical regardless of your business most of the time in order for you to grow that business. And the only way you're going to have access to cash is A, you're going to go out and try and raise it, and that means you're going to have to give away your business, which we'll talk about in a second, or you don't have a 472 credit score, and you can go out and actually get people to loan you money. Because one of the problems that a lot of people have is if they don't have money, they've got a crappy credit score, or nobody around them will actually lend them money. What are they going to do? Then they've got to start selling their business. And when you are in a weak financial position, you're going to have to give away more of your business than you would normally if you had a strong position. And so with Tiege Hanley, perfect example, right? We need money, we can go to our bank. We got money in the bank, they know, and that's the other thing. If you can develop a relationship with a bank, and they can actually see, money in there and that you've run, that you got money, they're going to be more likely to actually lend you money. Lending you money and somebody being willing to lend you money is better than selling equity in your company at some inflated value. And oftentimes it's better to borrow money, use it, pay it back at a lower reasonable interest rate, as opposed to a scenario or situation where you don't have access to cash because either A, your credit score sucks, or you're really new in business. And then what you do in order to get cash is you sell part of your equity. And oftentimes when you do this, the person with the money, they're in control. They've got all of the control, all of the power, in order to be like, no, I know you need this money. Instead of 10% or valuing your company here, I want 20% or 30% or 50%. And if you're desperate enough, chances are you're going to take it, when the better solution would be to borrow that money, pay it back, reasonable interest rate, but you got to have good credit. Does this make any sense whatsoever? When I'm filming these vlogs, sometimes I'm like all over the place in my head, and I'm like, this is not going to make any sense. And I've got to end up editing it and piecing it together in order to make it a little bit more palatable and understandable. The question that was asked last week was all about credit score. Does it matter? Is it important for you to start a business? Depends, right? Anybody can start a business. You don't need a great credit score to start a business. But in order to start that business, do you need money? If you don't have it, you got to borrow it. And so if you're needing to borrow it, or you're going to get it from somewhere, it's either going to be from a friend or family that, even though you've got a crappy credit score, they're like, whatever, I got to do it. Because that's the other thing. There's nothing worse than borrowing money from somebody that you love and connect with, that you love, or a friend or a family, and then having to go to them and saying, I'm sorry, I lost all your money, I can't pay you back, right? That sucks. That really sucks. I know, because I did do that with my friend Steve, who was an investor. One of my best friends, he invested in my company. I said, hey, I'm bankrupt. I lost all your money. The good news is that as I started to make more money and be better financially, I paid Steve back. And so that's the good news. Do what you need to do to take care of your friends that took a chance on you. That's one lesson I will give you in this vlog. In terms of growing your business, yes. Oftentimes, you are going to need to go to the bank or not have, if you're really successful, best case scenario, you're going to need to borrow money in order to grow your business, because you're going to have so much sales that, or business is going to be so good that you need to order inventory in order to keep the business going and keep that cash coming in. And as long as you have other expenses in terms of, employees, a warehouse, you've got expenses. As you're selling, you need to save some of that cash, but you also have other expenses. And in order to place a bigger order and get all things happening and not run out totally and then try to place the order, because a lot of times with these factories or these orders that you place, there's a lead time. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's 4 months. It can be up to like 6 months that you're sitting there. And if you are relying on selling the product, getting the money, and then placing your order once you've gotten all the money, you could be out of business for like 6 months not getting any money. And so what do? You go to somebody who's willing to lend it to you, you place that order, and it's a cash flow thing. Cash flow and the management of cash. How it goes in, comes out, how you borrow it, how you use it. This is an education that you are going to have to understand, or I should say you're going to have to go through, but you need to understand how it sort of works. And so in order to grow a business, do you need cash or a good credit score? Yes. I truly believe that your credit score as an entrepreneur is one of the things that's going to dictate your ability to grow and scale. Because if you got a crappy credit score, people aren't going to lend your business money, they're lending you money, right? Even if you're a solo entrepreneur, even though you've got an entity, an LLC, whatever, when you go for cash, they're not going to be like, let me see what the business does. They're going to see what you are doing. And so that's something and a lesson that I learned the hard way, right? People are like, I thought that, oh, I started a business. The business is in good shape. They say, wait a second, I don't care about the business. I want to know about you. How much money do you have? What is your credit score? Because they know that the business could be shut down. And then if they lent the business money, which they don't do early days, they'd be, shit out of luck. But they're going to attach you to anything they loan you money to, even if it's a business. The bank was looking at me, not my entities, not my businesses. Yes, they look at that because they want to mitigate their risk as much as possible. But if you've got a crappy credit score, there is zero chance that anybody is going to lend you money in order to scale, unless you already filed bankruptcy and they know that you're rebuilding like I explained in my situation, because they know you can't file again. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to talk a bit about credit score. 472 is a low one. 600, 700, good one. 800, forget about it. People give you a lot of money. You got to be responsible. You've got to be responsible with money. You've got to be responsible with debt. And the way that you're going to build that credit score up is borrow, pay it off. Borrow, pay it off. Not having ever borrowed money is also a bad thing, because that's not going to help raise your credit score. And if you don't have a high enough credit score or not enough lines of open credit, this is also a red flag to somebody potentially going to loan you money that there's something going on. And so you got to have it, you got to have access, but you got to pay it off and build up that score. Gentlemen, that's where I'm going to wrap things up. This was a little all over the place, but it was such a big topic and something that's so important for an entrepreneur to understand, that even if you've got a really crappy credit score right now, you got to figure it out. You've got to stop the bleeding, stop spending, get a budget. If you need to, cut expenses, sell shit, do whatever you need to do to start building up that credit score, because your credit score is your word or your ability to repay debt that you're going to need in order to grow and scale your business. Gentlemen, that is where I'm going to wrap things up. If you have a business question, if I didn't get to it from last vlog, down in the comments, start it with business question and ask it. Next week, we will definitely get to some of your amazing questions. Anyway, guys, that is where I'm going to wrap things up. As always, at Tiege Hanley, we love you more than our double monk strap shoes. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Next week, I'm going to tell you a few of the submissions that we got at Area 627, the new company. We got some amazing companies that have actually approached us, and we were kind of shocked. And it's crazy. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for everything. We will talk to you next week. I hope you have an incredible weekend. Stay safe and handsome.